Hey guys, it's Darnell Malcolm. I wanted to show you guys a video of the tanks that I have in my office. I just cleaned them. I know you can't really tell because this one's dirty, but it's more of a natural setup. I've got the clown killies in here, as well as, well, if I could locate one, there's Scarlet Batis. Perhaps we'll just wait a moment and see if we can see one. As well as the dwarf Cory. This guy's actually about 6 years old, and same with these clown killies, which is interesting because their lifespan is about 5 years, so they're doing super well. And they've also moved from city to city. Each time that I moved in college, I took these guys with me. And oh, there's a little Scarlet Batis right there. They're not super colorful yet. They're very young, and I'm working on getting them better live foods to eat, but they're thriving. They seem to like it in their environment. The killifish never bother them. They don't even pay attention to them. So if you had any questions about that, there you go. I've seen them come face to face with each other and not even bat an eye. So moving on, this is the tank where I put all of my spare plants and little Java fern cuttings and fry. So that's a baby turquoise rainbow fish right there. He's the biggest one. There's actually 3 fry in here. They're kind of hard to see on camera. There's one. He's really, really tiny in the flow of the water. In this tank, there's not a lot of actual filtration. It's just a lot to do with the sponge and the plants. So there's a lot of microorganisms living in here, and that's what they've been feeding off of. And then moving on to my tank. This is my own personal tank, I would say. My little pride and joy. There's 1,000 different species of plants in here. We got some S. repens growing very tall because they don't do CO2. This is a CO2-less tank, by the way. And we got a little licorice gourami there. A purple Harlequin rasbora. A school of regular Harlequin rasboras. There are red pencilfish. There's 3 of those guys. They're beautiful. I love their personalities. Super excellent fish. They kind of want to go to bed right now, but I'm bugging them. And then there's also the... oh man, I'm blanking on the name right now. It's another kind of rasbora. Emerald rasbora? No, that's not it. Either way, it's the one with the little dot on the tail and a stripy body. So that's who I've got all living in here. And then there's a flying fox for some algae cleanup. A blue ram, a male, looking gorgeous. He's posing for the camera right now, actually. Yeah, just a whole bunch of snails and other stuff. All chilling, hanging out, having a good time. Oh, how could I forget? There's also the tiny, tiny chili rasboras and the maculata somewhere in here. You know, they're really small, so they have a good time hiding. There's like the skull, and this is the Nymphea lotus, and it is growing like mad, I'll tell you what. I'm sorry, it's kind of hard to see because of the light, but each single one of these stems is a lily pad that's floating on the top of the water. And like I said, I just did some maintenance, so I trimmed about 6 or 7, so they were covering the entire surface. I would say it's a good plant, but it grows fairly quickly, and because it grows fairly quickly, it takes a lot of the resources out of the water, so you gotta be careful that you replenish with liquid fertilizers or root tabs, something that's very important, especially when you have a tank that has no CO2, such as mine. I really love the way that they all hang out and school together. I mean, they're not particularly schooling as much as shoaling in this tank, unless they get afraid, then you can truly see them, you know, schooling together. But yeah, so everyone's doing pretty well in this tank. Other plants in here, we've got some Anubias nana petite, Anubias golden petite right there. Don't even look at this plant, it's just, you know, a little experiment, something. Up here we've got some more Anubias. I don't particularly remember the name of this one, but I'll find it, and if anybody asks in the comments, I'll give it right away, obviously. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a Bulbitis huidulari right there, if that's how you say it, I have no idea. A little bit of a Java fern. Some Java moss growing in the log. Some trident Java fern growing in the back. And so it's very chill. Everyone seems to kind of enjoy themselves. This guy kind of gets aggressive around the food, but other than that, he rarely chases everybody. And when he does, it's one person, and then he switches on to the next. So each fish isn't stressed out for a long time. It's just a small little burst of stress. So yeah, these are the tanks in my office. This is a 25-gallon. This is a 10-gallon, and this is the Fluval Edge. I believe it's 6 gallons. Yeah, all microfish, all just, you know, little friends. I'm a big fan of the microfish. They tend to be a little bit less aggressive. You know, it's really nice to see them kind of move around in the tank and go in the crevasses and things, but the crevices, yeah. That's why I like my microfish. That, and they're not the most difficult to take care of. Although there's a lot of things that you have to consider when you're worrying about the nutrients and how well your tank is flowing. Like, I have a fairly large pump in this tank. You can't really see because it's dark, but so I can get at least 5 or 6 cycles of the water through every hour. It's nice. I got the air stones right up there. This one doesn't, but this one also has one in the corner. Very important, just, you know, for the health of your fish. Especially a lot of the smaller fish here, they can be found in places where there either is not a lot of oxygen in the water or there's a ton of oxygen in the water, right? So cold mountain streams, they have a ton of oxygen present in the water, whereas like if you had like a beta, or I believe some kinds of gourami, they come from, you know, rice paddies and small little ponds and stuff where they work on air breathing, much like the Corydoras do. You know, they go up to the surface to get a little bit of air. And so those are the kind of fish that don't need a particularly large amount of oxygen dissolved in the water, but almost every single fish can benefit from it, at least in my opinion. So as you can see, these two right here, I believe they're males. They really, really like to flex to each other. So right now they're doing a broadside display to each other, which is just, you know, showing dominance, showing a little bit of swagger, who's got the biggest body. It's a very efficient way of competing, especially for animals as opposed to fighting, because in this sense they can see exactly how well their opponents are doing. They can see how much red they have in their body, how many carotenoids, how much food they've been getting, and how big they are compared to their opponent, and then not actually have to fight, so not incurring the cost on themselves. So that's part of the reason these fish do broadside displays. And they kind of look goofy while they're doing it, so, you know, it's a plus. Alright, well, I'm Darnell Malcolm, and this is the fish tanks in my office. I hope everyone has a great 2021, and I'll catch y'all later.